On today's exciting episode, we'll follow two bosses as they go undercover and discover managers who treat their subordinates horribly.
How many hours do you have right now?
It ain't 20.
So if you go on overtime, I can take you outside and beat you up, right?
How will these bosses deal with these awful managers? Tune in to find out on today's episode of Undercover Boss. We will first start with the president and CEO of Checkers and Rally, Rick Silva.
I'm Rick Silva, President and CEO of Checkers and Rallies.
Headquartered in Tampa, Florida, Checkers and Rally's restaurant are located in 30 states and serve 2.2 million burgers a week. With 20,000 employees under them and earning $680 million a year in annual revenue, Checkers and Rally is the world's largest drive-thru restaurant chain. Checkers and Rally's started as two separate companies with only a year separating them, and they were very similar restaurants, and they both had almost identical menus, and both had a drive-thru. They both grew steadily, but realized that the only way to grow as big is to merge instead of competing with one another, so in 1999, the companies merged and became one. Rick loves the restaurant business and loves the competition, and he really doesn't like to lose, so he will work day and night to make the company the best, and this is why he wants to go undercover. He believes that it's the best time to reevaluate and find new things that they can do differently, and they now have 800 restaurants, and his aspiration is to get to the number 1,000 within the next few years. He'll be going undercover as Alex, a failed pharmacy owner from Philadelphia, looking for a new opportunity in the restaurant business.
While undercover, I'll be posing as Alex Garcia, a failed pharmacy owner from Philadelphia.
For his first job, he travels to Homestead, Florida to work in the grill and fry station.
I'm here in Homestead, Florida. I'm going to spend the day with a team member in a restaurant.
He meets up with Todd, who takes him to the kitchen and shows him how to cook the beef patty. Rick was not really a good cook, and he really struggles to follow instructions properly, and he overcooks the patty. They then go to the fry station, and Rick sees the restaurant is not following the company's guidelines.
I was surprised that Todd wasn't properly trained. That position is absolutely critical, so I'm a little worried.
And Todd then shows him how to use the fryer. Rick then sees Todd is really passionate about cooking and he's really impressed by him. But the restaurant manager, Stevens, is not really happy with them and he starts yelling at Todd to speed it up. Things get worse as time goes on, and Stevens gets more and more annoying. He keeps insulting all the employees and even threatens to fight them.
How many hours do you have right now?
It ain't 20.
So if you go on overtime, I can take you outside and beat you up, right?
Rick and Todd then go out to take the trash, and Rick asks if Stevens is always like this, and Todd responds by saying yes, and says that he tries to ignore all the insults, and this is unacceptable to Rick, and he asks Todd why he would work in this kind of environment for this kind of boss, and Todd then breaks down crying, and says that he needs the job to support his family, so he'd rather take the insults instead of being jobless. Rick then confronts him and tells him that he will talk to Stevens, and they go back inside, and Rick calls Stevens to talk to him in the back. Rick confronts Stevens about the way he treats his employees, but Stevens defends himself by saying that this is how he keeps his employees in line, and he then says that if Rick can't handle the restaurant business, maybe he should leave. This really pisses off Rick, and he reveals his true identity to him.
I have been in the restaurant business for over 20 years, and I've been in the fast food business for over 20 years. I'm CEO for this company.
And he tells him that he's not qualified to be a manager and orders the shutdown of the restaurant immediately. Seeing this, Stevens tries to change his argument and starts making excuses, but this doesn't really work. And Rick then reveals his identity to the rest of the employees and apologizes for the way that they were treated, and he then tells them that they will get a new manager in the morning and sends them all home. The next day, Rick travels to Carroll City, Florida to work in the night shift, and he meets up with Joyce and she first teaches him how to work in the ordering window, and Rick then takes the lead, but he really struggles to use the computer system and takes a long time.
His first customer, he was like so rigid. If I was a glass of milk in his hands, I would probably be a milkshake after he was done.
Next, she teaches him how to work in the drive-thru, and Rick sees their communication system is very old and doesn't work properly, which is really hurting efficiency, and this is when he tries to use it. He couldn't even properly hear customers and struggles to take the orders. Throughout the day of working with Joyce, Rick has seen that she's a great manager, so he asks her what she thinks needs improving, and she tells him that the standardized menu is hurting restaurants, since in different states, people prefer different kinds of food, and she she also tells him the marketing has not been great and tells him some of her ideas.
And we spend a lot of money on focus groups, but maybe I'm not using an asset, a talent that we have in the organization, and I think we can capitalize on that.
For his last job, Rick travels to Mobile, Alabama to work on the sandwich board station, and he meets up with Joanna, and she first teaches him how to make a burger. Joanna is very efficient and customer-oriented, and she wears headphones to listen to customers' orders, and starts making the food even before the order officially reaches the kitchen. Rick was quite impressed by her, and he appreciates her taking initiative. He then works on a burger, but he was very bad, and Joanna doesn't give up on him.
And across. Ketchup. Tureen. Pickles. 1, 2. Spaced out. 1 onion.
And makes him do it again and again until he gets it right. Rick's undercover time finally comes to an end, and he invites his employees to a restaurant to reveal his true identity.
I'm Rick Silva, CEO of Checkers and Rallies.
First in was Joanna, and he tells her that she was a great employee and offers her a trainee management position, which comes with a 25% raise. He then gives her $20,000 to cover her expenses and pay for a new car.
As a good employee, and he is rewarding me for it. $20,000 in a management position with a higher pay.
Next in was Joyce, and he tells her that her energy during the night shift was amazing, and he tells her that the old communication systems will be replaced immediately, and he then reveals to her that he's created a general manager council where managers from different restaurants can share their ideas to executives so they could improve the business. He then gives her $10,000 to pay off her debts and another $10,000 just for her.
And I'm proud. I'm just proud. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Last in was Todd, and he tells him that he was sad with the way that he was treated and thanks him for speaking up. And he then tells him that he's starting a training program for all employees, so this kind of thing doesn't happen again like it did with Stevens. And he then offers to pay for his college tuition, and on top of that he gives him $15,000 to cover for his expenses.
I'm gonna stand up for what I believe in. It's my time to shine.
And now, we follow the president and CEO of Hooters, Kobe Brooks.
My name's Kobe Brooks. I'm president and CEO of Hooters of America.
Headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, Hooters is one of the biggest restaurant chains in the world, with 500 locations in 27 countries. This restaurant giant grosses more than $1 billion a year. The business model of Hooters is based on 3 principles: chicken wings, beer, and the beautiful women that serve them. This formula has worked really well for them, and they don't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Hooters were started with 6 friends who wanted a place to have a beer without getting thrown out, and Kobe's father joined shortly after and then took over the business. He's also the main reason that the company has become this successful. Kobe became the president and CEO when he was just 34 years old, and he's also contributed to growing the company massively. We see that Kobe's also a very ambitious man, so he wants to grow Hooters even larger within the next few years, and this is why he wants to go undercover. He'll be going undercover as Scotty Archer, a contractor who's looking to branch out to the restaurant business.
While I'm undercover, I'm changing my name from Kobe Brooks to Scotty Archer. The coworkers I'll be working with will be told that I will be followed by a documentary crew doing a documentary on entry-level position.
For his first job, he travels to Dallas, Texas to work under the manager, and he meets up with Dave and he gets him right into the job. Kobe first starts with taking out the trash and then moves to the kitchen to wash the chicken wings. The job is a little hard for Kobe as he hasn't done much physical work for a long time.
I'm exhausted already. It's been 20 years. Since I've done any restaurant jobs, and it's tough.
But he tries his best and continues to take out the trash, and he then goes back to wash the dishes, but he accidentally drops a glass and breaks it. Dave is really not happy with Kobe's work in the kitchen, and the next day, he gives him the promotional job. Here we see Kobe meeting up with Brittany and Amanda, who work as Hooters promo girls, and they go out to the street and give free samples and promote the restaurant. Kobe's not really great at sales,
Hey, I've got some boneless wing samples here from Hooters. Would you guys like to have them?
but the biggest shock to him was learning that a lot of people don't really like Hooters because they think the way the waitress is dressed is demeaning to women, and it's not a place for family.
I think it exploits women.
Really?
It'd be hard to justify taking our kids there.
This comes as a shock to Kobe, as he thought that the stigma against Hooters was gone, but he can clearly see that even though his business is growing, still, the majority of the customers don't really like his business. This is disappointing to Kobe, but Brittany and Amanda do love their jobs, so he's happy to see at least his employees like the restaurant. For his next job, Kobe travels to South Arlington, Texas to work as an assistant general manager, and he meets up with Jimbo and he gives him the task of inspecting the girls. You might be asking what inspecting the girls mean, and Kobe was also confused at first, and it means that Kobe has to check the clothes of every waitress and pass them if they fit Jimbo's criteria. Kobe is visibly uncomfortable with inspecting the girls, and he just passes everyone, but Jimbo doesn't go easy on the girls, and he starts to tease them about their flaws.
Compliment her on her lack of nails. My, those are some non-glamorous nails you have. Have a seat.
The restaurant is then opened and Kobe works as the assistant manager during the lunch rush, and management comes easy for Kobe since he runs a company and he does pretty well at that job as well. After lunch, Jimbo gathers all the waitresses so he can decide on who to let go home early for the day, and Hooters' main income comes during the lunchtime, so not as many workers are needed after lunch, so usually some of the waitresses will want to go out early. One of the girls tells Jimbo that she needs to go out early because she has school, but he tells everyone that if they want to go home, they have to play the reindeer game.
Alright ladies, today, you want to go home? You want to leave early today? Cuts are going to be on games. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
The reindeer game is a competition that Jimbo himself created, where he makes the girls clean off a plate of beans only using their mouth. None of the waitresses don't really like the game and they complain, but they don't really have any power, so they decide to play along. Kobe was watching all of this happen and he's horrified with what he was seeing.
It's hard for me on this one to bite my tongue. If I could break cover, I would sit down and have a very long, serious talk with Jimbo.
Jimbo treats his employees so badly, and he hasn't faced any consequences for his actions. Kobe wants to jump in and fire Jimbo right then and then, but he doesn't want to blow his cover, so he just leaves the restaurant and calls the franchise owner to tell him what he witnessed. For his next job, Kobe travels to Fort Worth, Texas to work with another manager, and he meets up with Marcy, and within 5 minutes, Kobe notices how well she treats her employees, and she also has a great relationship with the customers, and everyone seems to like her.
Marcy seems to have a lot better relationship with her crew than Jimbo did. Marcy respects her girls, and the girls respect her.
Kobe then follows her around and learns from her throughout the day, and he's very impressed on how well she knows the job, and she reveals to him that she actually used to be a Hooter girl and she grew up within the company to become the manager. For his last job, Kobe travels to the factory where their dips are made, and he meets up with Ricky and they first start with packaging the sauce. Kobe does okay with this job as well, but he learns since he became CEO, the workers in the factory have not been really happy. Kobe's father always visited the factories and was very close with the workers, but Kobe rarely makes a visit and everybody thinks that he doesn't care about them.
What's the word on him?
They probably hating the guy right now, but
the reason why Kobe doesn't visit is because he's too busy, but he understands why the employees would think that way. And finally, Kobe's undercover time comes to an end, and he invites his employees to reveal his true identity. First in was Brittany and Amanda, and Kobe really liked their passion for the work, so he offers them to join the marketing department to help them come up with better strategies.
That we're not just Hooter girls. We're not just girls that serve wings and serve beer, like we're real people.
Next in was Dave, and he tells him that he was a great worker and pledges to donate $50,000 to a charity in his name.
I was very, very happy with that. They're going to make a $50,000 donation in my name to something that's so near and dear to my heart with the military.
Next in was Marcy, and he tells her that he loved working with her and offers her a fully paid vacation for her and her family.
It's just awesome. More than I would have ever expected anyone to do for me. Anyone.
Last in was Jimbo, and Kobe confronts him about his actions and tells him that what he did was unacceptable, and then he asks him to apologize to the girls, but Jimbo actually argues back and says that his way of management is good since he gets more sales than other managers. And this makes Kobe very mad, and he tells Jimbo that respecting employees and treating them fairly is much more important than sales, and he then tells him that he's fired, and he ends the meeting.
I took a step back and, okay, I get it. I'll make it happen.